Welcome to Office Hours at Talking Harps. I'm Victoria.
And I'm Angela.
We are the team behind the YouTube channel Talking Harps. And in here, we are hoping to create a space for some honest conversation from the other side of the music stand. Most of you here have probably heard very little about us because Talking Harps is a YouTube channel dedicated to spotlighting other harpists. But we thought it might be a fun idea for us to create a little bit of a space to share our journey as adult harp learners with you. But before we get into that, Angela, can you tell us a little something about yourself? When did you start playing the harp and how did the harp came into your life?
Oh, that's a very big question. I can't really remember a time when the harp wasn't in my life. I have that story that's common to a lot of harpists that I think I went to the ballet when I was 5 with my grandma and saw the harp being played. I think it was probably the Nutcracker or something like that, or Swan Lake. I did both as a child. And I don't really remember the story of either of those, but I remember seeing this gorgeous harp in the orchestra. And so ever since then, I just wanted to play it. But I had to wait. I was about 5 then, and I started playing the harp when I was 10, but they were quite hard to get hold of in South Africa. So I only played for about a year then, and then had to give it up until I was an adult. So I only picked up the harp again as an adult harp learner. So I really understand what it's like to always want to play, but have to wait and wait. And that idea that children are going to grow out of those childhood urges just wasn't true for me. It was true that I always wanted to play. And for me, it's still that passion is just getting stronger and stronger. Yeah, that's how the harp came to me. It's something that I just felt compelled to pursue. How about you, Victoria?
So I have a fairly different story than you because I actually started playing a piano to begin with as a child. And growing up in Hong Kong, there's a lot of pressure for children to get into music lesson. And of course, piano back then was the popular instrument of choice. And I remember myself really hating the piano lessons. And I think a lot of it comes from the pressure of having to take exams. So throughout the 7 years that I was learning the piano, I didn't really feel a true connection with my instrument because I felt like the only purpose for playing the piano is to pass an exam. So it wasn't really connecting me in a more emotional level. However, I do enjoy music and I sang in choirs and I've always enjoyed listening to music. So when I grow older and I start having kids, I want a different experience with the instrument for my kids because I recognize the sort of that benefit, right, of learning music and having music as one of your second language. Like I think that is so powerful, but I didn't want them to repeat my experience. So I was pretty dead set on not getting a piano. I want a different instrument, starting on kind of like a clean slate, if you will. And that's when I came across the harp and I took my kids to a local harp teacher's recital, and I heard the harp being played, and I fell in love with the sound right away. And I was keeping my fingers crossed that my children will pick the harp because that means I get to play around with it. And then a couple of years later, the pandemic hit, and I thought, well, maybe I want a different experience with my instrument as well. Why don't I start playing the harp? And that's how I got into harp playing. And I have to say, this time around, I'm definitely having a better time with my instrument because I feel like I have learned from my experience of what not to do, what kind of sort of value I should not hold on to when I am playing an instrument. I'm going in all in for joy, and it's a way for me to connect with something that is pleasurable. There's no pressure in performing. There's no pressure in exam, and that gives me a really different experience, and I'm enjoying it so much more this time around.
Yeah, there's something so different about learning as an adult than learning as a child. And I think that's where we have the opportunity in this podcast to share some honest conversations about that experience as adult learners. There's so many people, I'm sure, who are in our shoes who maybe learned other instruments as children or are coming to instruments as adults and are at the point where they have that laser focus of this is something I've always wanted to do And you know what? I'm going to do it, and I'm going to play the music I love the way that I love, and I'm going to hit those goals even in adult life because it's something that I'm choosing to do rather than something that maybe my parents chose for me or that I didn't have control over.
I think that gives you a different pressure, though, isn't it? It's very different than having a parent sort of, looking at you over your shoulder and say, "Hey, have you practiced?" I often found actually the pressure I give myself to make sure I practice to be nearly as scary, if not more.
Absolutely. You've got no one else to kind of be responsible. It's up to
Right?
you. And you're probably the one paying for the lessons this time around
And the instrument.
and the instruments and setting a good example for your children in your case.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the takeaways in my Talking Harps journey so far with you is that we know there's a lot of adults who are learning the instrument either for the first time or they're getting back into the instrument after stopping one from a while. And like you said, we have a very different journey with our music learning than, say, when you were kids. And I would love for us to explore more of that in this space. And it's not always just serious topic though, because I'm thinking about all the things that we could be sharing in here, and there's a lot of topics that we would love to get into.
Yeah, and thinking about what's coming up in our upcoming episodes, we really want to dive into different types of things that are particular to adult learners. So, like harp shopping or choosing repertoire or struggling with playing in the practice room and motivation and time and juggling adulting around harping. All of these different things, I think, are things that will come up, and we'll be able to share lots of funny stories that have made us laugh in hindsight, but maybe not in the moment. Our first string changes, all sorts of things that people can look forward to, I think, as we go forward and just share the joys and the funny side of being an adult harp learner.
Absolutely. And also, I think this will be a really good opportunity for us to reflect on some of our interviews because I often look back to right now we have over 40, almost 50 interviews that we have released by the time we were recording this. And there's a lot of good takeaways that still stuck with me. And not to say that there's a lot of sort of behind the scenes story, but there's definitely moments where, when we're producing the shows that people perhaps didn't understand the gravity of seriousness that goes into the quality checking and all that. There's a lot of that go behind the scene in Talking Harps that I think we can get into as well and give our audience a little glimpse into what it's like to be on the other side of the camera, although I'm still on the other side of the camera. What am I talking about here?
Yeah, we're both so obsessed with harping and enjoying this so much that we actually started this YouTube channel together and wanted to find out what we didn't know from other harpists. And we've gained so much in connecting with other people and learning from them that has enriched us. And so, yeah, it'll be wonderful to be able to reflect on that, to discuss some of the key takeaways. There's so many things that people didn't see in front of the camera that we took to our own harp rooms and discussions we had that we thought would just be great to kind of bring other people in that conversation because you and I have so much fun discussing that and we're such a big help to each other in our adult harp learning journeys that it'd be great to bring other people in on that conversation.
For sure. And this office is not just for Angela and I. We invite our audience to join us. We're going to leave some information in the show notes for you to participate in our conversation, how to get a hold of us. And we would love to hear from y'all because I'm pretty sure some of the story we're going to share is going to sound familiar or relatable to you.
Yeah, so look out for our next episode where we'll be talking about finding our first harps and some of the ins and outs and travels of those harps and deciding that I think will make you smile. And if you're an adult harp learner, will probably be a little relatable too.
Absolutely. Well, this is the first episode of Office Hours at Talking Harps, and we will see you in the next episode.